All right, welcome back, guys. Hope you had a great weekend. Wearing my Phillies hat. We're congratulating the teams. Actually, just talking to Coach Gage about my hat collection, and you guys, as you watch my podcast, know that I like to collect hats, and so we're excited about the Phillies and the Astros. But before we get in some of those topics, we're going to talk to Coach Gage. Coach, how are you today?
I'm great, Eric. Thanks for having me.
That's awesome. Excited to have you on. We got your name actually from Todd Meckley, coach out there in Penn State, and he's been really, really good in getting me some quality coaches, and excited to hear your story. So why don't we go ahead and get started right away? Why don't you? We always ask our guests to start with their kind of the beginning of their journey, wherever that might begin. So why don't you take it on?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks again for having me. Thanks for allowing me to represent Stevenson University. I appreciate that. So mine is an interesting story. At 18 years old, I knew I wanted to coach. So ran a travel team with my dad, and we ran a local team. And I was lucky enough to coach my brother, who he's actually pitched in the big leagues this year. He made his big league debut. So,
awesome.
I became a really good coach really fast, and when you win a lot of games, when you got a pro on your team, you think you know a lot more than you do. And God blessed me with becoming a head college coach at 23 years old. I coach at my alma mater, and again, at 23, you think you know everything in the world, right? And at 33, I found out that there was a lot to learn in the last 10 years. So. Coached in Vermont at Southern Vermont College, which again was my alma mater for 5 years, and had some great seasons there. And Vermont's a tough place to coach for college baseball. In March and April, it's pretty cold. And, tough to get outside, tough to get on a field. But in 2017, moved down to Stevenson and had a great opportunity here to coach here, and just really enjoying our journey at Stevenson University.
That's awesome, and I know we'll spend a lot more time talking about your program and what's going on there. But let's take a step back. 18, you knew you were a coach, had a chance to coach a travel team with your brother. Like you said, you always look like a really good coach when you got some really good players, and him playing in the majors, I'm sure he was kind of the anchor of the team. What made you really believe that coaching was what you wanted to do as a career?
Well, first of all, I wasn't good enough to play professional, and I wanted to stay around baseball.
Okay.
I think you got to be self-aware.
Yeah.
And I love the game, and I knew that I wanted to be around it. As we do as young coaches, we don't really know what kind of impact we can have, but we know that we want to stay around sports, right? Like, yep. we know that college is going to come to an end, and we want to stay around it. So that was the first one, and I think that's pretty common for young coaches. But I also had a lot of coaches who had an impact on my life. I mean, my high school basketball coach had a major impact on my life, and my college soccer coach, and then my dad was a coach of mine, and just the impact that they had and the lessons that they taught me, I realized what kind of impression I could have on young people. And as I've gotten older, that has meant so much more to me as you just have life experience. And that's a major reason why I wanted to be in coaching, just because of just the impact that you can have on people, and helping them grow up and helping them have success and find themselves. And especially at college, this is such an impressionable age. Yeah. It's something I take a lot of pride in, is helping our guys grow up and fail, but teaching them how to learn from their failures too.
No, that's really interesting. Really being the self-aware. Talking about that a bit. A lot of people are not as self-aware and able to plan for the next events in their life. For you to be able to do that at that young is quite impressive. Now, when you moved into the coaching at the college, you said it was 23, right? And you coached at your alma mater. Talk about that. I mean, when you got the call, you knew you were already you wanted to be a coach. Obviously, this is going to be, you picked the school for a reason. So certainly it's something, you understood it. You knew the facilities, you knew the administration and everybody, but you also knew some of the players, right? So obviously that's quite the challenge in itself is coaching the people that you were playing with. So talk about how you mentally prepared for that. Maybe some of the things that you might have done that you've learned from some of those other coaches that were part of, impacted you so much.
So as I went through college, I was lucky enough. So Southern Vermont was a 400 person campus. It was one of the smallest in the country. So we had really great relationships with our coaches, with other coaches in the department, the school president. I mean, all around, right? And I was lucky enough to my freshman year, I did an internship with our athletic department, and throughout my career, just sort of stayed involved with the department, whether it's working games or whatever. And that had a major impact. And then academically, I did really well there. I'm brag about myself for a second. Is I was the valedictorian of my class, so so that stood out to our administration a lot. Yeah. And I graduated early, and then I was an assistant for a year. And at the end of that season, the president called me and said, "Can you come to the office?" And I had seen Southern Vermont through and through, and I was ready to just sort of go somewhere else. I think we all want to go be the Division I assistant or something. And I was 23, so I was like, let me go be an assistant at this point. So the president calls me and says, "Hey, we're going to make a change with our baseball coaching staff." And I said, "I totally understand. And for myself, I'm gonna." And he's like, "We want you to stay on." I said, "Well, let the next coach hire his assistant, right?" I don't want to be the alum who got left, who stayed on. And he's like, "Dave, you don't understand what I'm saying, do you?" And I said, "Not really, right? Like, I'm 23. I'm talking to the college president. Not really." And he's like, "We want you to be our head coach." And I accepted. I didn't even think he talked financials, anything. I'm 23. I don't know anything at this point. I'm just like, yes,
yes.
I think it was so it was great. And I learned on the fly, and had some. So our basketball coach at the time was Dan Engelstad, who's the Mount St. Mary's basketball coach, and became a great friend of mine, and had some really good mentors in our department as well. And I just learned from other coaches, and and I think that I was so thankful to fail and learn, and I just hit the recruiting trail. I knew no matter what, we needed good players.
Right.
So.
Right.
Just went on the recruiting trail, and there's so many great college baseball coaches out there who probably looked at me, and I look young, so at 23 I looked even younger, and they were probably like, "What is this player doing sitting at our table?" And they just sort of took me in and accepted me and talked, and I think appreciated how hard I worked, and we built a really special program, but it was hard. And as you said, you said I got to coach some players I was teammates with, so some guys that I was friends with, and we weren't a great team, so we had to make some tough decisions of, "Hey man, like, we got to recruit over you, and like, you're my friend, but we have to recruit over you." Yeah. And I just knew coaching was more important at that time, and we went out and we recruited some great players and went to a conference championship, which was an awesome experience there.
Yeah, talk about learning on the fly. You're absolutely right. And really the foundation of a coach and a good team is, like you said, is the recruiting aspect. Talk about some of the things that were probably the most challenging for you when you just kind of jumped in and took off. What when you look back, or even at the end of that first year, what were some of the things that you went, "Man, got to learn from that and move forward"?
So my first year, we started 11-11, and I took over a team that had won 8 games the year before. So we were playing really well. We were in the middle of the pack in the league, but culturally we were very deficient. We didn't, and I knew all the deficiencies, right? I was just a part of it a year and a half ago. Right. And I knew that from a long term. So one of my big beliefs as a coach is we don't want to build winning teams. We want to build winning program. And I knew that this wasn't just going to be a quick fix. It was something that I wanted to look back on and be really proud of. So I made a adjustment from a leadership standpoint in our program at that point, at 11-11, and we were, again, we were 3rd or 4th in the league, and we lost our last 13 games. Wow. And we lost our next 13 to finish the season. And I think looking back on it, I could have handled a little bit better. I could have brought the guys in that we were sort of, the adjustment we made, I should have handled that better. But, it was a decision I made, and I knew it was going to not benefit us that year, but it did benefit us 3 years later when we went to a conference championship game. So I don't know. I think it just taught me how to be honest with guys. When guys aren't doing what they need to
Yeah.
do, it's really hard to bring them in and say, hey, you're not doing this well enough. But it's better to do that than just make a decision.
Right.
And that's something I've learned. And even with, end of the year evaluations, end of fall evaluations, just being honest with guys, I think is something that's very important.
You really do have a unique experience with that. I look back at, with even in business, if you're on a team and all of a sudden you're promoted to the manager and all of a sudden you're managing people that you used to work with, and you had made a comment there, you knew the culture wasn't where you wanted it to be, but because you were part of that culture as a player, and making that change as a coach, and implementing some things that you probably talked behind closed doors with some of the other buddies. It's like, hey, if we did this, man, it'd be a lot of fun. Were there some of those dynamics that maybe you had some of those players that it was tough and honesty was certainly the best way of approaching it? Or did they just accept you and things were really good?
They accepted me until they weren't playing. I mean, as this business unfortunately is.
Yeah.
I think everyone. We had a lot of great kids in our program, and we had some success before that. It wasn't, it was just
Yep.
It was what it was at that point.
Yep.
But we had some good kids, and we were able to bring in a really good recruiting class the next year to really implement what we wanted to do, which was exciting. But I think just stepping in right away, when I look at that compared to when I took over here at Stevenson, just knowing was something that I could just hit the ground running. Whereas I came
Right.
to Stevenson and I learned from our alums and had a great predecessor in Jason Tawney, who I could talk to them about what was already going on. But there was a difference in knowing what you're getting into compared to learning from other people.
No, that's a great point. There's pros and cons of both, right? Is the pros of going to a new program is that you can implement what you want and not have, understanding the baggage is something that's good and bad at times, right? It's knowing what you can, when you know it's there, you can address it. If you don't know that it's there, some of those things with the new program. So let's go, a couple of questions with you. The environment is changed quite a bit post-COVID. A lot of kids went through a lot of the challenges of not playing full years and meeting, remotely. You certainly had to go through a lot of that. When you see the change that's come out of that, what are some of the things that makes you most excited about the future of after some of these challenges that we went through?
Playing full seasons is you never taken anything for granted.
There you go.
Right? And as something that we have to remind our guys. And I think we always are living in these what's in front of us right now. And sometimes you have a bad practice, and I would take a bad practice any day over March of 2020.
Yeah.
So I think that just reminding ourselves of that. I mean, we all went through something that nobody knew how to handle it. We became much closer. I mean, we were on Zoom calls all the time with our guys. And then I thought 21 was tougher, because we were doing it, but there was so much more going on. And then getting back to a little more normalcy in 22 and still trying to figure out those pieces here in 22 and 23. But I think it made our game better. I think everyone gets afraid of the transfer portal and gets afraid of fifth-year seniors. But our team is really good, and we're competitive in our league, but our league is really good, and Division III baseball is really good. Yeah. And it's awesome to see is because of some of the negatives. I think there's a lot of positives out there of how good college baseball is, right? The draft shrinking stinks. I mean, that's awful. I think how many 21st, 22nd round draft picks were really good players, and,
right.
and now you don't have
Yep.
those. But those kids are in college. And there's really good players out there in college baseball. So it definitely made our game much better.
That is a great point that a lot of people are starting to realize and recognize. The quality is significantly better, and I think has to do with a lot of the people coming back, the the smaller draft, a lot of those issues. But it certainly is a challenge for the younger kids that are coming up, right? They know that. That position may or may not be open as it was, in previous years. What is with now you've had basically two programs under your belt, some success in both of those. What's been one of the biggest successes that you've had? And this could be personal success. It probably more important is your personal success. But if there was something else, what's something that you would share that you were, if that was one thing that you might need to point out?
So one thing that I take a lot of pride in is our guys walking across stage with jobs. And, in 21, we, obviously the economy was what it was, but we had guys walk across stage with Fortune 100 jobs, making a significant, amount of money. And that was something I was really proud of to watch our guys. And each year is special when our guys walk across stage and especially when they have jobs. And it's something in our program that I think is very unique. And I know there's a lot of great programs out there who do this, but we really pride ourselves in our guys having jobs when they walk across stage, and Stevenson does as well. So I honestly, I think that's some of my most, proud moments is just the jobs that our guys get, as they graduate. And we've won a lot. We've unfortunately lost, a fair amount, but, I think I did this at 23, and it was win a championship at all costs, right? And it was, right. and there, that's very typical. It's typical for us. We don't totally know. We don't have enough life experience yet, and I still don't have enough life experience. I'm still learning every day. But I went to a conference championship, and that was special. But the next day, you're worried about how to get back there, and
right.
Man, when the guys call me and say, "Coach, you want to go play some golf?" or "Coach, can we have lunch?" We had an alumni game this year. We had 41 alums back. That's unheard of, to have that many alums back, and guys coming over to me like, "Coach, can you grab lunch this week?" And it's just that's what's special. I think that's why we all do this. A good portion of them, or at least a good portion of good coaches do this, is for those moments.
Yeah, good. What about probably the biggest kind of failure that you've learned from?
We've had bad seasons, and I think you got to evaluate it. You got to evaluate, those, and you're never as far off as you feel, and you're never as good as you feel, right? Like, I think, that's something that I've learned throughout this time. I mean, again, I think when we all want to win every game, and when we lose, we feel like we're a million miles away. And, so I've learned how to really dive into games instead of just looking at the scoreboard at the end and looking at the wins and losses. That's something that I've learned a lot. And I've learned that the score doesn't always dictate how good of a team we are. Obviously it does. There's winners and losers. But I do think that I don't do post-game speeches anymore just because we lost and all animated. Now I break them down a little bit more so I can tell our guys really what they did and learn how to coach them.
Yeah.
That's something that I've probably learned a lot just being at Stevenson over the last couple of years.
No, talk about that a bit more. You talked about it coming in more emotional. Are you able to kind of take a step back and break it down? Explain that a little bit more to how you used to do it and what you're doing today.
Yeah, I'm still a poor loser. Like, I'm an awful loser. Just ask my wife. But with that being said, I mean, there's so many good things that happen in a game, and you lose 4-3, and you only want to focus on the strikeout with second and third.
Yeah.
And what I've learned is, like, post game, a lot of guys aren't really listening. They want to go get food, and they want to go see their girlfriends, and they want to go see their mom and dad, and but they really listen the next day. And that's something that I've learned is give them a couple things afterward, but like, let's really break it down the next day when there's no emotion involved. Yeah. And I can really discuss what happened the previous game.
No, that's a great point. The heat of the moment is a real difficult time to self-evaluate, no matter who you are, right? And if you give them a chance to kind of do it themselves, they probably, players know what they did wrong. Players know how they can perform, they can continue to get better and what they need to focus on. And a lot of times it's just managing that. It's kind of like managing anything, right? It's finding what works for these players. Do you find that from the 10 years that you've been doing this, kind of the same thing? You're the one that's changing. Is all the kids coming in really it's no different than it was before, or do you really see differences between now and just 10 years ago?
Yeah, we got to change. I mean, every group of people is different. I think the one thing that we talk a lot about, and we've really done this fall, is there's still only one recipe to win. No matter what, I think there's only one recipe. I think if you really look at accountability and hard work, is all the winning teams still have all the basics. They still have the foundation. But people are changing, and we're changing. And if we don't change as coaches, then we're going to get stuck. And there's somebody else who can fill this seat that can adapt with each kid. So we have to adapt. I think that's why we go to ABCA. That's why we do things like this where we can learn. That's why I listen to podcasts. Yeah. We have to. That's why I bring in really good assistant coaches so I can learn from them as well. But yeah, I mean, I think this game is changing, daily, and some good, some bad. And that's what each program gets the opportunity to figure out what works for them.
Do you feel that the kids, one of the big things that's changed over the last, and it's been probably 20 years now, but the big, the elite teams, the travel ball teams, it's a whole lot more than just high school and, American Legion, some summer leagues. Have you seen the quality getting better, or is it really just is it a focus on different things? What is your take from when you were 16, 17, 18 years old versus the kids that you're recruiting today?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that each kid is they become what they're allowed, right? And there's no doubt, I think even I was probably the tail end of Legion ball, and it was happening as I was growing up, and travel teams were sort of starting it was starting to boom. And
yep.
I think, right, we were still playing when I was playing, and even when I was coaching at the beginning there, it was all winning, and winning mattered, and there was sack bunting, and there were everything from that standpoint. And then I think probably the last 6-7 years, it was all sort of showcase style, but because the kids didn't create that, we did. Right. And we created and then what do we all do? We all sit around and we talk about the selfish teammate, well, that's what we created.
Yeah.
They became what we created. And now, I was so excited this summer. I was at a tournament, kids were sack bunting and cheering, and there was winning and losing, and there was tournament, but they're going to do what we create.
Yeah.
And, there's no doubt there's probably a lot more selfishness. I think coaching is very different from the standpoint of, my coach said, do this, and I did it. Right. And I think that a lot of us, that was the case. I think there's a lot of coaches where that was the case, but I think the winning teams, that stuff still happens. I really do. I think if you dive into Nick Saban, I think when Nick Saban says do this,
probably
Alabama football does
yep.
it, right? I think the difference right now is there's a lot of programs out there who don't have that same foundation, and creating that foundation is really difficult to do.
It is tough, right? The wins and losses. You brought up a really good point. The kids do what we tell them to do, and if that's changing the program, whatever we're changing, we're creating whatever they're doing today. And it's the same as what administrations and the kind of the brass at the top are also expecting as well. Are they expecting wins and losses, or are they expecting building character and building kids that will be instrumental in impacting the community? And you've talked about that earlier about the most pride that you have is watching the kids walk across the stage with a degree, with jobs. Is that really? It sounds like that's really the Stevenson way. Is baseball is there? But it really has to do with what they're going to be doing long term. Am I getting that right? Or yeah, go ahead and kind of expand on that.
No, I think so one of the things that stood out to me is our administration cares about both. So our director of athletics, Brett Adams, has been our only AD here. He started sports from the ground, and now we're at 29 sports. And winning matters here, and I think that's something that really stands out at Stevenson. Every coach, right? And I tell recruits this all the time when they come to visit our campuses. Every coach in the country wants to win. There's not one out there who doesn't care about winning.
Yeah.
But not every administration cares about
right.
winning. And that's something that is tough to find out in a 2-hour visit. Is how much does the AD care? Because if the AD says hello, he's going to tell you he cares about winning. But really finding out that piece, does the administration care? But also the administration cares about what our alumni's experience here, or what their experience was, because that ends up being successful.
Yep.
It is total package. It is not just wins and losses, although that matters. It's total package.
That's a great, it's a great, if you can find it, that's the premium, right? It's that perfect balance. Obviously winning and losing is life. There's winners and losers, and it's more of a character build. There's a whole lot that goes along with that. So that's good transition into really Stevenson. So if I had a kid that's 16, 17 years old, why would Stevenson be a preferred school that we should be putting on his list?
Yeah. So for me, this is the easiest question, because if I was 18 years old, I'd want to go to Stevenson. Like I sit in this chair every day and I show up and I'm like, man, this place is amazing. Our facilities are they're state of the art. We just built a brand new baseball stadium on campus, and
very nice.
We have really nice athletic facilities, which is nice. Athlete only weight room and some special things. But what I tell our parents, because I think that's super important, is the parents understanding that their kids are, they're giving their babies away that they love, and that your kid's going to walk out of here with a career, and not just a job, but a career. And I think Stevenson, 94% of our graduates either walk across stage with a job or get one within 6 months, and that's
great.
That's sort of unheard of, and that's something that you're making an investment, right? Private school and school in general is really expensive. So you're making an investment, and you want to make sure your return on investment is a positive one, no matter what your playing time is, no matter what your, wins and losses experiences, but your return is beneficial. And that's the guarantee. Right? I can't guarantee that a kid's going to play. I don't know if he helps us win, he's going to play. If he doesn't, he's not. I can't guarantee we're going to win. We're going to try really hard, and we're going to try really hard to develop them, but I can't guarantee that they're going to play. But I can guarantee that the Stevenson degree will help them, will better their life, and that will help them get a job.
That's great. So, a lot of things that go into the recruiting process for kids, not only the school that they want to play in, but does it have your major, what your focus is on, location, different things like that? What are some of the kind of the premium, degrees that are coming out of Stevenson?
Our business degree is phenomenal, and we have a really good accounting major and finance major. And, we're 30 minutes outside of Baltimore. So our kids are interning at Fortune 100 companies, Merrill Lynch, T. Rowe, Northrop Grumman. And we got a lot of guys and a lot of alums who are in those programs that can speak on those behalfs to our current players. But then our school was built through nursing. So we have a lot of great health sciences programs, and, healthcare management and pre-physical therapy, pre-med, those kinds of things. So we have 90 different degrees between, majors and certificates. And that's really nice to be able to have kids come here. And a lot of kids show up and they don't totally know what they want to do. And that's okay, because they're at a school with that many possibilities.
Awesome.
So that's really
awesome.
Nice.
Is it really a urban or rural setting?
It's a more of a rural setting.
Okay. And on campus life, or is it a lot of commutes or?
No, so we're a suburb. I guess we're a suburb of Baltimore. And what's nice for us is we're 30 minutes to Baltimore, and we're 20 minutes to, which is Carroll County, and there's a lot of outdoor stuff there. So, guys can go fishing and hiking and different things. But it's a huge athletic based school. So 29 varsity sports. And I mean, our football game this weekend, we had 4,000 people at, sold out, and it was packed. Awesome. And our football team's really good. They'll go like 10-2. So it's a great experience every weekend here.
That's fantastic. Anything else that you'd like to add about the Stevenson University experience and anybody that might be listening to us today?
I think that playing college baseball is the most special thing that an individual can do. I mean, just the teammates that you have and the relationships and the mentors, hopefully, that our coaching staff provides. And, I think the whole recruiting process is very daunting to families, right? Yeah. And, our coaching staff takes a lot of pride in that. And there's a lot of great coaches out there. And I just always tell kids is like, you hear this fit, but they don't know what fit is.
Right.
And go see it. Go see it. Go see us play. We have great players in our program. We play in a really good conference. And I think be at a place that you're not disappointed in. Yeah, the transfer portal is out there, but it's not. Don't think on it, right? Like go to a place and invest in yourself and be at a place, because the kids who transfer, they're not totally invested. They're not totally invested even in the new place.
Right.
So not all of them. And so I just encourage kids to talk to us, watch us practice, and meet our players. Like, we're an open book. We want to be an open book because we don't have anything to hide, and we're really proud of what we have here.
Okay. Give us from a character perspective, what would be, if you were to kind of define your players, what would they be?
Hardworking kids, like that's something that is really, really important. But man, we like to have a lot of fun. Like, we laugh, we joke about. I mean, my assistant coach is a Red Sox fan, and I grew up a Yankees fan, and we got Mets
fun.
Fans on the team and Phillies. Yeah, so I mean, that's our. It's, if we're not talking baseball, we're talking football, and I mean, that's what we're doing at practice. We're playing music, and I think college baseball is so much fun, and we have a ton of fun while working hard and teaching our kids some awesome lessons.
Now it is a game of failure, which gives you the great opportunity to build character. And I think that's one thing that I love about baseball players. And I always refer to a baseball player forever. I mean, I don't care if I'm working with somebody here they're in their 50s and they played ball, they're still a ball player. And that's what's exciting. And I think, you're a great testimony of somebody that, a couple things, understood the game, loved the game, understood where you were, the self, kind of you were able to understand who you were, and went in a direction that really allowed you to blossom and become who you are. Couple lessons that you would love to share, maybe lessons or life pointers for kids that you just said baseball is a great thing to be part of, but what are a couple things that you'd like to just share with them?
Yeah, so I think you have to decide do you want to be a part of a winning program, or do you want to play all the time? And every kid wants to play, and playing time is probably the biggest. It's the biggest thing. We're dealing with, third, our three hitters and leadoff hitters that have to come in, and we got 30 of them now.
Yep.
So, it's an ego check. And if you want to play, there's places for you if you're a good enough player. But if you want to win, we don't win championships with freshmen. And not that freshmen don't play, because we've had rookies of the year, we've had great freshmen. But if you look at any level, Division I, Division II, Division III, junior college, a little less junior college, but Division I, Division II, Division III, freshmen aren't on the World Series teams playing. Maybe one, maybe two, but they don't have 9 of them.
Right.
So you just have to understand is sometimes you gotta work, and even when you get there, you still gotta work. And I think hard work, it never goes wrong. And the other thing that I would just say is, it's a favorite quote of mine, is don't confuse activity with accomplishment. A lot of guys go hit, but not a lot of guys accomplish getting better. And I think that's what our, young guys have to understand right away when they get to college is you can hit all the time, but so does the 23-year-old, and he's much stronger. And he knows what he's doing. He knows how to hit the ball where he's supposed to.
Yeah.
So I just think that those things are important, because I think everybody just walks into campus and expects to play because they were a great player, And I think that's why the transfer portal has so many kids in it, is because they don't understand the expectation. We talk about summer ball. That's why guys transfer summer teams, so to speak, so much. Yep. But if you want to win, you might have to wait your time, and that's okay, because your experience is going to be really good. But if you want to play, that's okay too. But winning might not be at that same level.
That's a tough balance. You got, the percentage of players that are playing in college, it's very small. And so this is the best batch of players that are coming out of high school that are going to college, and they've been winning, right? They've been winning. They're the top players on their team, most likely, if they're going to be playing at the college level. And so definitely a character building opportunity. And that's a great quote. I really like that. It's, do you want to play or do you want to win? And a lot of times that doesn't happen. So I think this has really been a lot of fun, Coach. I appreciate it. This has been a great opportunity to get to know you. And I hope that you can get people to take a listen to this. We'll certainly push it out to all of our channels. But we're excited to just get to know a lot of these coaches at every level, right? I've had D1 all the way down to NAIA programs, and I'm telling you what, the good coaches are all they're. It doesn't matter what level of program that they're in, and the kids certainly are testament of that. Because I've actually talked to a couple of kids that have come out of these programs as well, so it's been a lot of fun. So, Coach, appreciate it. Thank you very much, and you have a great day.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Eric. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.